All right, Garrett, you're here for not very long, and you have we've never like asked you to talk a little bit about your job. Garrett, do you want to move up to the mark?
Move to the mark.
Move to the mark, and yeah, what? So, what exactly is your job title?
Ooh, that's a great question. So my job title is I'm the manager of pediatric gaming. So I am in charge of making sure all the hospitals around the country that have therapeutic gaming or programs adjacent to that, that I am in charge of making sure they have all the resources they need, the connections, they can talk to industry people that I know, they can get, hardware, software. I host a weekly meeting with everyone who does therapeutic gaming and talking to them about, what are your struggles in the hospital right now, and what can we do to help as an organization, Child's Play, and then what can each other do, what can other hospitals help with, organizing various different games. Today, actually, we do a Fall Guys Friday that we have host across the hospitals, so different hospitals compete against just each other in a private lobby.
Very cool.
That's something that we help start, and the hospitals run that themselves now, but it's pretty neat. I think that's happening like literally right now, or shortly after right now. So yeah, some really cool stuff that goes with that. As you can see on the screen, there's a whole bunch of different pictures cycling through of people and patients in hospitals, and you can see there's Travis and Kirsten there giving a big giant check to a hospital. We like to give out giant checks when we can. I know Desert Bus also likes to give out giant checks. I've seen them. There's me playing Jackbox with kids in the hospital over COVID. That was a very interesting time to be in therapeutic gaming in the hospital. We actually found a lot of the people doing therapeutic gaming ended up taking on some weird, strange responsibilities during COVID because no one else knew how to use technology. So I had found myself being in charge of coordinating all special guests because the person that was in charge of it didn't understand how to use Zoom in the way that I did, so I suddenly became in charge of coordinating celebrities in the hospital over Zoom, which is a very interesting thing. But that's just an example of why it's so important to have someone who's in charge and can understand and can use video games, technology, and all that in the hospital. It's kind of like a liaison or a point of contact for people that can kind of live in both worlds. Not everyone can understand technology and work and be personable with patient families and providers.
Yeah, I mean it makes a huge difference. I feel because a lot of the people I had the misfortune of having my husband Graham in the hospital quite ill for a week last year, and then sort of dealing with medical care and stuff like that. And the thing is, everybody who works in a hospital is wonderful, fantastic, amazing. They're great at their jobs, but they're very busy doing their jobs.
Yes.
They do not have time to do the other things that go along with these things.
Yeah, it's that is a big struggle, and we found that even when there's people that are knowledgeable about technology or engage with it, they often don't have the bandwidth to actually engage and fix that in any meaningful way. So even if someone is, I know how to use an Xbox, I know how to fix it, they might only have like an hour a month to be able to like track it down. If they're not immediately right there to fix it, then a lot of times it just will go to the wayside. A lot of times what I would do is I would just, every time I saw an Xbox in the hallway, I would check it. Every time I saw, a clamshell system, I would make sure it had all the cables. If you don't have someone whose job is doing that, then that stuff goes way to the wayside, and it's definitely very challenging to maintain any sort of like cohesiveness or consistency, even within the unit of the hospital, but across all the units of the hospital. It's pretty remarkable how deteriorating things can get in a short time. So I would do things like put trackers on them, manage where they are, make it easy. I would develop a lot of systems so that the other people that were deploying the technology, they would know, how to manage it in a way that made sense to them, in a way that they could interact with it. And I think that's kind of the key. Is like it's not just, implementing and doing it yourself, but also coming up with different projects and different programs and infrastructure to make sure that other people can manage it, because one person's ability can only go so far. It's really more of like how do you like force multiply that logic and that understanding and apply it across the board in the most far-reaching ways possible.
I'm just saying hi to Kelly because I haven't seen you all Desert Bus, and I'm very happy to see you.
Woo! We actually haven't seen each other since last Desert Bus. We keep meeting to hang out, and then it's like
one of us keeps having a sick child, like
Yes.
religiously.
yes.
Kelly, did you want to jump into this discussion?
I just
at all?
wanted to say thank you to Child's Play. I'm just jumping in. I'll talk about it more probably on Dawn Guard tomorrow. But my medalist actually has a plotting disorder, a bleeding disorder, Quinn, and we have benefited from Child's Play personally. He's still only 4 going to 5, so we get the stuffies and stuff that you sent to Victoria General Hospital. So we have Hospital Bear who lives at home, and we've gotten lots of cars because we have to go get lots of blood drawn because he bleeds like a sieve. So yeah, thank you to Child's Play for all their awesome work that they do. It's super important. So, hello.
Yeah.
And goodbye, because I gotta go see said tiny humans and take care of them.
Bye.
But that's just to give you an idea of the impact that Child's Play makes to even people within this organization. Like, everybody knows a kid who's unfortunately had to deal with medical issues and had to have those experiences. And no one, it's not fun for them. Do you have any stories about, like, just working with kids and seeing the difference that Child's Play has made?
I have so many stories. It's I have to think of like some of my favorite ones. I mean, the most I think stories that speak I think are the ones I was 0.2 of my FTE when I was at Seattle Children's. Funded, my position was funded from Child's Play for 2 years, and then after that the hospital funded it. So 0.2 of that time ended up being from the rehab unit. And so on the rehab unit, I did a lot of adaptive gaming, so using the Xbox adaptive controller or various other similar types of interfaces to help patients who have different types of mobility engage. And so that was like basically all I did when I was on rehab. And it's a very incredibly rewarding experience because the referrals you get on that unit, I'm being beckoned to even further. All right. Center. The types of referrals you get on that unit are patients who are huge gamers, and they could come in and one in particular that always speaks to me is this kid was a huge gamer. That was like all they did in their family. That was like his way of connecting with his peers, with his brothers, and he became quadriplegic. So he could only move one finger, and he could lift his shoulder a little bit, and he could move his head. And that was basically the extent of his movement. But what I got to do is go in and say, you're not actually done gaming. Like if you want a game, we can make that happen. And it's just a matter of like if you want it. And I always boast 100% success rate. Any kid who ever wanted a game, I was able to get them gaming, and that's probably like hundreds of kids. Sure. So there was not one time where a kid said, I want a game, and we couldn't get them to play something. So, and I think that just speaks to, it's just a matter of, like, the technology's there. And so getting this kid to not only know that, like, their gaming life's not over, like, that they can still be a team, they can still engage. So, set up an Xbox adaptive controller, got them to play Mario Kart with an extra adapter to play into a Switch, and all those different, translation pieces of taking, like, we know how they can move from the OT and PT, and I know how the game systems work and what to do, and so how do you, like, plug that in, and he was able to play Mario Kart. He even beat me a few times, which doesn't happen to, just in general. Normally I don't lose at games, so even one time is pretty impressive. And just being able to take, and then we got him a grant so he could do a quad stick. So it's a little joystick you use with your tongue, and then you can blow or inhale like kind of like a harmonica to do different inputs. And so he could use a computer, he could use an Xbox, a Nintendo Switch with that. And so he was able to play Fortnite and all the stuff that a typical 13-year-old would want to do. But after when I first met him, he wouldn't even take his head over the blanket. Like he would just he wouldn't engage with anyone, he wouldn't look at anyone. But then when I was able to teach him, there's ways you can game. It's just, if you want it, we can make it happen. And just like that. And you couldn't believe the difference it makes, because this is a completely different kid. They went from I don't care about anything, I don't want to do this, you know, my life's basically over. And you go from that to one of the funniest kids I've ever met, like cracking jokes every time, you know, smack talk, telling me he's gonna beat me at Mario Kart every time. Like it was night and day. So I think that's like kind of encapsulates like the good and the really heartwarming things that can be done through the power of gaming. And that's not something that you maybe think about unless you're exposed to it, but it's, you know, being able to teach that your life isn't over just because you can't do it the way that you used to is, you know, that feeling never gets old. It's amazing that just seeing them come all 180 degrees to like understanding like that they can do things if they believe, you know, and they can, you know, we can make it happen basically.
That's awesome, Garrett. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.